Well, if you're here with me today, friends, you have made it halfway through the week, and that is enough to celebrate in this here crumbling empire. So well done and happy Wednesday, damnation. There is so much news today. So let's jump right into it. I appreciate all of you for being here. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show, dear friends. Let's get into it. Hello, my friends. Welcome, damnation. We begin today. There's always so much news. It has your head on a swivel on a regular basis. With the Epstein drama that continues to unfold all summer long, we miss things or we forget about things that happened particularly at the beginning stages of Donald Trump's horrible, grotesque, depraved regime. So I want to turn our attention back to a story that should have never left the news. And it is this one. The migrants who Donald Trump kidnapped from the streets, homes in America, the over 230 men that he kidnapped and sent to CECOT in El Salvador. This is from Rolling Stone magazine. Migrants freed from El Salvador prison allege torture. Months after the Trump administration sent them to the brutal CECOT facility, freed Venezuelan migrants are finally speaking out. And this is the reality. This is a picture taken on July 18th when some of these men were released. And I want to remind you, right, before the Paramount scandal and CBS's longtime producer quitting, 60 Minutes told us, they broke the story, in fact, that after researching and looking into the backgrounds of the men that were kidnapped, guess what? 90% of them had no criminal record whatsoever. They were innocent. Their crime, being brown, having tattoos, and being at the right place at the wrong time. You remember the spectacle of a video that the Trump administration released showing this cinematic domestic terrorism that was orchestrated to show the strength and the power of this administration to do away with whomever they wanted, to dispose of brown people in a hellhole that activists, humanitarians have been writing about forever. Donald Trump knew exactly what he was doing and where he was putting these people. And you remember when he had Bukele in his gaudy ass Oval Office, where he said, we're going to need 5 more CECOTs for the homegrowns. The homegrowns are next. These men were laughing, right? Laughing at their pain, the torture that they knew, certain death for these 230 men. So after spending 4 months incarcerated in El Salvador's notoriously brutal prison system, after Donald Trump administration wrongfully sent them there, recently freed Venezuelan migrant men are speaking out about the abuse and torture they endured in the foreign gulag. The over 250 Venezuelan migrants the Trump administration deported to El Salvador's Terrorism Confinement Center, or CECOT, in March were released and sent to Venezuela earlier this month in a prisoner swap between the U.S. and the Maduro government. Freed men who spoke to various news outlets described psychological, physical, and sexual abuse during their stay in CECOT, which took place as they were deprived of due process rights and contact with their lawyers and their families. Andre Omar Blanco Bonilla, a man with no criminal record, who was detained after being asked to appear at an immigration appointment, told ProPublica in a report published Wednesday that men who refused to have their heads shaved upon their arrival in El Salvador were beaten by guards, their screams serving as a warning to other inmates to comply. Blanco added that the cuffs and shackles he was restrained with were too tight to walk properly, that he was beaten to the point of passing out by the guards who dragged him to a cell. As the men who were tortured as a result of the joint machinations of the American and the Salvadorian governments attempt to rebuild their lives, one of the Trump administration's figures who helped send them to CECOT has been elevated to a lifelong position as federal judge. On Tuesday of this week, yesterday, the Senate confirmed Emile Bove as a federal judge in the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. The confirmation took place despite two whistleblower complaints against Bove, alleging that he and other members of the Justice Department conspired to mislead the courts about the administration's intent to deport the migrants to CECOT under the Alien Enemies Act. Here's where we are now. Ex-Trump lawyer Emile Bove confirmed to federal appeals court in a 50-49 vote. Lifetime appointment, guys, lifetime. And here's what was said. Bove's nomination for the lifetime position has faced strident opposition from Democrats after Erez Ruvini, a former Justice Department official who was fired from his post, alleged that during his time at the Justice Department, Bove told lawyers that, quote, they would need to consider telling the courts, fuck you, and ignore any such court order, blocking efforts to remove immigrants to El Salvador. In testimony before the committee last month, Bove denied the accusations, and Ruvini later provided text messages that supported his claim. Last week, another former Justice Department lawyer provided evidence to its inspector general corroborating Ruvini's claim, according to Whistleblower Aid, a nonprofit representing the person who opted to remain anonymous. Folks, he literally had receipts. He had receipts that a man that was just elected to a lifetime position told other people, lawyers, break the law. We don't have to listen to federal judges. We can do whatever we want. Where have you heard that before? Oh, I don't know. I've heard it echoed by Keg Breath, right? Over at the Department of Defense, Mr. DUI, who, when he was asked while he was testifying before a congressional committee, will you comply with federal judges? And he said, basically, it depends, that the only law in the land is their MAGA-fied Supreme Court. I wonder who told them that. This man who said, fuck you to the courts, is now a federal judge for a lifetime. It didn't matter the text messages. It didn't matter what the whistleblower said. Some days, I tell you, I'm like, why do we bother following the law? It's basically as if MAGA has declared anarchy anyway. They don't give a fuck what federal judges say. They barely listen to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, in their decision to give Donald Trump immunity, basically said that they don't have any power. All power lies within the executive branch. This Supreme Court, which is absolutely illegitimate, has said this president, this regime, they can do whatever the fuck they want. Remember, they tied Joe Biden's hands from being able to provide student loan debt relief But they've given Donald Trump carte blanche to do whatever the fuck he wants, to gut the Department of Education. Remember, Joe Biden had to get a green stamp from Congress because the Supreme Court said that Congress created the Department of Education, and therefore it's Congress's decision about whether or not to relieve student loan debt. And oh, that's illegal. But Donald Trump can fully on his own gut the entire Department of Education. We know, look, Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump, they stole 3 Supreme Court seats. 3. Do you remember any court cases that the Democrats were rolling out to combat the fact that Obama didn't get his Supreme Court justice? Not that I would have wanted Merrick Garland on the fucking bench anyway, given what he did or didn't do for the 4 years that he was the Attorney General of the United States. But the fact is, did you see Obama flex with a appointment with taking Mitch McConnell and the Senate to court? No, because, oh, we don't want to cause friction. Did you see them take action after Joe Biden won the 2020 election and then Mitch McConnell rushed through Amy COVID Barrett? Did you see any action and pushback from Democrats then that they stole a seat? No. And then they pushed through, before that, sexual assaulter Brett Kavanaugh. After they had draws filled with notes and calls about him being a sexual assaulter. You know, so every time that these stories come around, and I'm reminded of how we are here, is not just because Republicans are cult members and are complicit in American autocracy. No, it is because Democrats were also complacent, because Democrats didn't do the job. Because over the 4 years of Joe Biden trying to stabilize the country post Donald Trump's first regime, what did he do to create safety and guardrails for the courts? What did he do to create safety and guardrails for the future of democracy as it pertained to voting, as it pertained to gerrymandering? No, everyone just thought that Republicans were going to wake up from their quote unquote fever dreams and come back to their senses. Why would you think that? When they've shown you every single thing to the contrary, why would you turn around and think to yourself, oh no? Once they recognize how bad things are, oh, they'll do the right thing. No, instead, they went back over 4 years, doubled down, and created Project 2025 so that they would be up and running the next time. So this brings me to the next piece of breaking news that happened a few hours ago as I was putting the show together. And it is this. Former Vice President Kamala Harris has made a decision. She's announced she will not be running for governor of California in 2026. Former Vice President Kamala Harris has announced she will not be running for governor, ending months of speculation. In a statement released by her office Wednesday, Harris said she had reached the decision after, quote, deep reflection, and vowed to, quote, remain in the fight, despite not holding an official political office. She said, over the past 6 months, I've spent time reflecting on this moment in our nation's history, and the best way for me to continue fighting for the American people and advancing the values and ideals I hold dear. I've given serious thought to asking the people of California for the privilege to serve as their governor. I love this state, its people, and its promise. It is my home, But after deep reflection, I've decided that I will not run for governor in this election. Speculation about Harris's next steps have been rife ever since her dramatic loss to Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential race, having taken over from Joe Biden after he stepped down mid-campaign. Let me just remind folks real quick. Kamala Harris was given 107 days. 107 days to run against a man that had never stopped running for president, Donald Trump. She was given 107 days to somehow erase America's racism and misogynistic and patriarchal roots. She was given 100 days, 107 days, to convince the American people that, oh, remember, you're not really that racist. I mean, you voted for Obama. I thought that the campaign injected a dose of hope that we so desperately needed, as it became clear that Joe Biden was incapable of doing the job. But the fact is, if we want to be honest, Joe Biden set her up. He set her up to fail. Because had he kept his word about being a transitional, stabilizing figure, then he would have given her an opportunity over the 4 years instead of hiding her and making the American people forget that he had a vice president that was a heartbeat away from the White House that happened to be Black and happened to be Asian. That he put her on issues that were not winning issues, didn't put her out front on something so basic like the overturning of Dobbs and Roe v. Wade and affirmative action. He didn't let her prosecute the case against Donald Trump while he was busy trying to stabilize the country. Instead, he hid her. So in 107 days, when we know how much this country hates women and hates people of color, she was supposed to convince the world that she was ready to go. And at the time, couldn't separate herself in any which way from things that she would do differently from Biden, a man whose poll numbers at that time were not good. Despite the good things that this administration did do, it's not as if you could say, oh, we're going to continue with it. The Democratic establishment, in so many ways, the consulting class, Nancy Pelosi and the rest, remember, Nancy Pelosi didn't even want Joe Biden to endorse her. Nancy Pelosi wanted to roll the dice on us having an open primary, while MAGA was fortifying their Project 2025 machine. So I say all this to say, I was on earlier with Waj on Substack. The video is up now. If you don't already follow the Damn Digest, please consider doing so. And if you're watching right now, you can hit subscribe. All my content is free. But the fact is, Waj asked me, do you think she's going to run in 2028? And he's like, let's take a step back. If we have elections, right, which I have said over and over again, I don't think are happening, right? And if they do happen, I don't think that they're going to be free and fair. But let's just put that on the back burner for a minute. Do we think that she should run in 2028? And I'm going to reiterate what I said just a few hours ago. If Kamala Harris wants to run her own campaign in her own voice, actually be a progressive candidate, actually stand up for Gaza, not instead of iterating and puppeting the talking points of Israel has a right to defend itself by starving children to death, that if she can stand up on real issues and not pull some centrist establishment bullshit, if she can take some notes from Zoran Mamdani and how you talk to people instead of listening to the consultants and holding hands with Republicans like she did with Liz Cheney, her and Liz Cheney might as well have been on some type of junket during the campaign. Meanwhile, you didn't see her with AOC. You didn't see her with people with progressive ideas and voices. She did. Jasmine Crockett was one of her surrogates, and a damn good one. But I don't remember Kamala Harris as the campaign waged on when she first came out and her and Tim Walz first came on the stage. I was like, this is going to be different than her last campaign. She has things to stand on. They have the truth. They have integrity. Tim Walz is like the model of what you would want a straight, cis, hetero white man to be. He was modeling how not to be toxic, how not to be depraved, how not to be misogynistic. He outright said what we had all been thinking. These people, these MAGA folks, they're fucking weird. And then what happened, folks? The consultants got a hold. The establishment got a hold. They told Tim Walz, tone down the folkiness, move to the center, don't use weird anymore. The very thing that got him noticed in the first fucking place, the very thing that had him go viral and people rooting for him to be chosen as vice president. Oh, don't do that anymore. In his vice presidential debate, he spent more time agreeing with JD Vance and showing that he was like the adult in the room that was going to reach across the aisle to people that have tiki torches. Why are we trying to reach across the aisle? I'm confused. And so here's my feeling. She wants to run again? By all means, run. But don't run the same bullshit centrist puppeteering that you did in your first campaign, and don't do what you did in your second campaign, which is listen to everybody but the fucking people. Don't let these people tell you how to show up and who to fucking be. Right now, people want leadership. They want authenticity. They want people who are going to offer up policies that are going to address the fucking billionaire oligarchs that own everything, are destroying everything, clean air, clean water. They want regulation on AI. They want to know what kind of jobs they can have in the future. They want their kids to have quality education with careers that are not going to be outdated in 4 minutes. They want to address the fact that America has been funding genocide with $3 billion of our tax dollars a year. So if you want to run again, Donald Trump ran again. Hillary Clinton ran after she lost. People run. Joe Biden ran for president 5 fucking times before he became president. But if you are going to run, then run for the people. Don't run from the people to the fucking focus groups that led you astray. Take this time to really sit down and look at the campaigns and messaging of people who are winning. And they're the Democratic Socialists. They're the ones with real populist messaging. Not some centrist, whitewashed bullshit that appeases the donor class, that continues to hold on to power and limit the voice of the people. So if you're going to run, girl, go ahead and run. But run like you fucking mean it. For everyone else that wants to enter the race, I have the same exact advice. Americans don't want to be placated. We have now been under Trumpism for 10 years, a fucking decade. That's why we're all so goddamn exhausted. It hasn't been 6 months. It's been 10 years. Donald Trump won again because he tells it like it is. No, because he's a fucking salesman and he knows how to utilize the media. He knows how to spin a fucking story. So instead of trying to match his energy, how about you spend this time actually going around and talking to real people? How about you spend this time knocking on doors and coming up with a plan that isn't a plan to satisfy the donor class and give them more tax breaks and give them more X, Y, and Z? That outstanding? I don't know who's running in 2028 because honestly, I don't think that there will be a country to govern. In 6 months, Donald Trump has rolled back about 60 years of progress on civil rights and civil liberties. For the second time, America has been on a list, not backsliding democracy, on an autocrat watch list. A group of international human rights advocates, lawyers, civil rights attorneys, they get together and they look at the policies and they look at what's happening. And they're like, hey, America, alarm bells are going off. So do I think that we make it to midterms and that Democrats take back the House? Democrats have a 33% polling right now, the worst in 25 years. So I'm saying to Kamala Harris, you want to run? Don't take your cue from fucking losers. Go with your gut. Figure out what that is. And if you don't know what your gut is, then talk to the people and figure out what the fuck they want and move from there. Time will tell, dear friends. Speaking of Israel and Gaza. So, another story, not getting nearly enough attention. U.S. labor activist Chris Smalls assaulted by IDF during Gaza aid trip. Freedom Flotilla Coalition says Smalls was choked and kicked after aid ship trying to reach Gaza was intercepted. This is Chris Smalls. He became famous as a labor union leader that was taking on Amazon. She did so successfully. He decided to join the next flotilla to try and bring aid to Gaza. According to the coalition, IDF soldiers beat and choked the American labor activist who was on board the ship. Smalls, as I just said, is most well known for the Amazon labor union. The Handala, because this was their big offense to the IDF, was on a ship with no weapons, right? Carrying food, baby formula, diapers, and medicine. This is what the Israeli forces beat him and choked him over. Delivering food for a starving population, baby formula, diapers, and medicine. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition confirms that upon arrival in Israeli custody, U.S. human rights defender Chris Smalls was physically assaulted by 7 uniformed individuals. They choked him and kicked him in the legs, leaving visible signs of violence on his neck and back. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition wrote in a statement posted on Instagram yesterday. When his lawyer met with him, Chris was surrounded by 6 members of Israel's special police unit for bringing food, baby formula, diapers, and medicine. This level of force was not used against other abducted activists. And I wonder why. Oh, because Smalls was the only Black person on board the boat. He was one of 21 members of the group who were detained, the only Black one, and the only one that was physically abused by the IDF. Tell me again. Tell me again what safety looks like for Israel. Tell me again. Chris Smalls is what? A terrorist? A terrorist who provides baby formula? Others included 19 civilians, including parliamentarians, medics, and engineers, and 2 journalists. Jacob Berger, a Jewish American actor who shared on Instagram that Smalls was in great spirits after his detention. Everyone else who was detained, he said, should be released on Tuesday or Wednesday. I will continue to follow this story to see whether or not Chris is among those that will be released. And hopefully, if he is and makes it safely back to the United States, although God only knows what will happen to him upon arrival here, I hope that he shares his story, that we get to hear from him firsthand what happened while he was in custody. You cannot continue to support a genocidal, homicidal, torture country. And you cannot tell me otherwise. Oh, Danielle, don't say those things. Oh my God, that's so what? So honest, so true, so bold? Because I'm no longer going to fall for the rope-a-dope that says, don't believe your lying eyes, believe the words that are coming out of my mouth when listening to members of the Democratic establishment that are more interested in cozying up with Netanyahu than they are a Democratic socialist named Zoran Mamdani. I say these things, folks. I want to connect these dots because all of this shit matters. And I want us to have long memories because you see, the problem with the voting public in the United States is that you have memories like gnats. We're so preoccupied with numbing ourselves, whether it be through streaming, 85 shows on Netflix, filling ourselves up with bullshit, drinking, doing this, that, or the other thing. Oh, my life is so important. I got to pay attention to other things. I don't have time for politics. Remember, politics always has time for you. It has time to take away your health care. It has time to take away your education. It has time to take away your access to clean water and clean air. It has time to take away your life. And so I connect these dots when people are like, well, what does Gaza have to do with X and what does it have to do with Y? People didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she was on the side of Biden when it came to Israel's right of defending itself. If your defense, if your safety looks like apartheid, that ain't safety. You will never be safe if your safety relies on your boot remaining on somebody else's neck. The world is now seeing for the first time. It only took, hundreds of thousands of children, elderly people being murdered. It only took the visuals of skeletal children being held by traumatized and grieving mothers for the world now to slowly be recognizing this Palestine as a state, the Palestinians as people. I have said too often, it shouldn't take genocide to have seen the truth here. You deny people the ability to fly their flag? A country, a state that can send soldiers in to your home, knock on your door and say, get the fuck out, and you have no recourse? That can take a bulldozer to your home? A country that says there are two different types of roads and you can't be on this one? That Israelis have civilian laws that they follow and that they're protected by. But you Palestinians, oh, you're ruled under military law. You go through checkpoints. You're shot on sight. This is the country that has been called the democracy of the Middle East. How in God's name do you utter the word democracy when the things that I just listed off, you can't tell me are true because I saw it with my own fucking eyes? I tell you, ignorance is a sickness, right? Willful ignorance is a sickness. And I continue to say and echo that Gaza is a mirror, because what is allowed to happen there will happen everywhere. And maybe it has taken the rise of a Donald Trump, an autocrat, a white nationalist, a rapist, for people to start to wake up out of their slumber, to clear out their eyes and recognize that their neighbors are being kidnapped, that school children are being disappeared, that journalists are being silenced and threatened, that we're no longer the beacon on the hill. We're no longer the quote unquote good guys. And folks, if we want to be honest, we never were. Because the stories and the histories are written through the lens of the oppressor, who turn their depravity into nobility. We, I have said so many times over, are not voting our way out of this. No country ever has. But if Democrats want to think that they are going to piece back together this crumbling party, then they sure as hell better do so and kick the people out, the establishment fucking people out that have been satisfied and fed by the status quo. And that begins with looking at ourselves and looking around the world and saying, you know what? I don't care what religion they are. I don't care what color their skin is. Everyone deserves self-determination. Everyone deserves to live free. Everyone deserves fucking food and medicine. So I close out today with this last story. Because some people are saying, you know what? It's not a big deal. We got bigger fish to fry. Why is anybody even talking about this? Why are they paying attention? What am I talking about? I want to play for you American Eagle's latest ad featuring the actress Sydney Sweeney. The title of this article says Sydney Sweeney's ad shows an unbridled cultural shift toward whiteness. Advertisements are always mirrors of society, And sometimes what they reflect is ugly and startling. Now, right now, this ad is making waves. I want you to take a listen.
Down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very keens.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has very keens.
You see what I did there, right? Hi, I'm Sydney Sweeney, and I'm from Spokane, Washington. I can work as a local hire as well, though, and I'm available for the American Eagle jeans campaign shoot.
Profile and hands, please. Thanks. We'll be in touch.
Sydney Sweeney has very keens.
Next.
What do you all see when you watch that? They also went so far to actually write out the words genes, Genes, and cross it out and then put Jeans. Now, folks, Sweeney, 27, is featured doing all sorts of Americana things in her American Eagle denim, like leaning over the hood of a white Mustang or lying on the floor holding a long-haired German Shepherd puppy. At the end of each video, an off-screen voice speaks over blocky letters declaring that Sweeney, blonde, blue-eyed, and white, has great genes. The wordplay was made even more explicit when American Eagle posted a video of Sweeney standing in front of a poster bearing her likeness with the word jeans crossed out and replaced with jeans. The internet has been quick to condemn the advertisement as non-inclusive at best and overtly promoting white supremacy and Nazi propaganda at worst. The advertisement, the choice of Sweeney as the sole face in it, and the internet's reaction reflect an unbridled cultural shift toward whiteness, conservatism, and capitalist exploitation. Sweeney is both a symptom and a participant. Y'all, let me tell you something. American Eagle knew exactly what the fuck it was doing. Don't let these companies that have canceled DEI initiatives, that had on 1 minute had up there, oh, we support Black lives, and the next minute we support the LGBTQ community, yay, happy Pride, to now doing shit like this, playing in your face. And then when you call out their so obvious white nationalist bullshit, that they say, oh my God, you're overreacting. Well, do you know how MAGA is reacting? Celebrating. Oh, the conservatives are eating this up. They're buying up American Eagle stock. It's like the new meme stock. Sydney Sweeney is now the little blonde hair and blue-eyed face of their movement to re-whiten America. And American Eagle has decided to get on board that MAGA train. And as I said earlier today, I'm going to be very explicit here and I'm going to hurt some people's feelings. And in all honesty, I don't give a fuck. white people don't create culture. They never have. Black people do. Period. Everything that is hot, language, music, themes, everything, Black people did first. White people then copy. So if American Eagle thinks that they're not going to become the next target, like anyone was fucking shopping there anyway, think again. Because they think that they're going to be the new Budweiser. You know, remember Budweiser had decided to run an ad with a trans actor or queer actor, and they lost their fucking minds. They were shooting Budweiser cans. And Budweiser stock went all the way down because, in all honesty, they weren't really thinking about their audience so much. Like, who buys their Bud Lights? Right? Middle America. And Donald Trump made middle America terrified of queer people and trans people. So they lost money by trying to be more expansive. But Target has yet to recover from their bullshit with regard to pulling the plug on DEI. You see, people don't want to be associated with white nationalism. Look at Tesla. That motherfucker did 2 Hitler salutes on the stage at inauguration. And then what has happened to his brand? In the toilet. So, while some folks may lift this up, and you'll see it all over TikTok and social media on the trad wives and all that. Yes, Sydney Sweeney, she's amazing. She's fantastic. But I want to pull up again just what was written here because it was so good. The advertisement, the choice of Sweeney as the sole face in it. Because here's the thing, folks. You could have actually done this ad and it be good and done the play on jeans. And guess what? You could have chosen Sydney Sweeney. You could have chosen Lupita Nyong'o. You could have chosen, Eva Longoria. You could have chosen, right? Like a trans actress. You could have chosen a plus size actress, and then you could have done the play on jeans, right? And saying, oh, we all have good genes, genes for all, right? Like you could have actually done it. So don't get it twisted like, oh, well, they just chose an actress. No, they made a choice. They made a choice, the same choice that Hitler made when he was creating the Aryan nation of what was beautiful, what was and should be modeled after, and everyone else murdered. He chose blonde hair and blue eyes too. So don't let folks tell you, oh, we have bigger fish to fry. This doesn't matter. Folks, this is literally all part of their larger white supremacist campaign. You erase Black people, you erase Latino people, you erase diversity, equity, and inclusion. You take over the Kennedy Center, you take over higher ed institutions. You have them do away with their education, and then you begin your re-education by using pop culture, by using popular actresses to be your little bobblehead spokespeople for your re-whitening campaign of America. American Eagle marketers sat in a room and made this decision. And as this writer says, it's a choice. As the sole face in it, the internet's reaction reflect an unbridled cultural shift towards whiteness, conservatism, and capitalist exploitation. Sweeney is both a symptom and a participant. Let me tell you something. Anyone with half a brain would have said no to being a part of that campaign. I mean, I don't think that you have to be a scholar to know what eugenics is, do you? Maybe you do. Maybe I'm just assuming more people are smarter than they are. But when you have Donald Trump and others in MAGA talking about good genes over and over again, and then this campaign comes out 6 months into this regime, as brown people are being kidnapped and detained, and you think that now is the fucking moment to pull this type of shit, and then you want to be like, oh, that's not what we meant. Shut the fuck up. You're also rage baiting, because right now, yes, even I am giving them free advertisement. Pay attention to all the ways that this country is shifting right in front of our eyes. How white nationalism is being normalized right in front of our eyes. All of this coming from why and from what? The audacity of America to elect a black man not once but twice. And white America hasn't been right since. Y'all sit with this. But I gotta tell you, if you got any American Eagle in your closet, I'd go ahead and give it away. Or better yet, throw it in the trash. Because it is trash. Folks, that is it for me today here on the Danielle Moodie Show. Tomorrow, I will promise to do Town Hall Tuesday. I have been traveling. Your girl is exhausted and she needs a little bit of rest. But I will be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, to run through this never-ending week. And then we will get to Town Hall. As always, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. And I want to thank you all so much for your generous donations today. Abby, Ernst, as always, you come through. Trunk, Susan, as always, for your great moderation and your generosity. A. Hamilton, Karen, PJ, Big again, as always, appreciate you. K. Panda, Zoe, Karen, Just Saying, Blue Lady, K-Dub, Serenity. I appreciate every single dollar that you guys offer up. This is independent media, people-powered media. And your dollars, your support, your likes, your comments, and your shares, they all matter. So thank you so very much. And if you have yet to hit subscribe, do so to help me get to 30,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And if you're on Substack watching, do hit subscribe. I put none of my content behind a paywall because that's where I believe our intelligence and democracy dies. So everything remains free. And I rely on, as Waj says, the kindness of strangers. I appreciate each and every single one of you. See you back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Be well and take care of yourselves.